The 2003 Minnesota Vikings started their season off 6-0, led by one of the best offenses in the NFL and Hall of Fame wide receiver Randy Moss, who posted over 1,600 receiving yards that year, a Minnesota Vikings record. As the next 4 weeks went along, the Minnesota Vikings dropped 4 consecutive games, putting them to 6-4. Next 5 weeks go by, they go 3-2, heading into week 17 with a 9-6 record. The issue with that was the Green Bay Packers also owned a 9-6 record, meaning the week 17 matchup between the Vikings and the Arizona Cardinals, who were 3-12, meant if the Vikings win, they would go into the playoffs. But if the Packers won their week 17 game against the Denver Broncos and the Vikings lost, the Green Bay Packers would go into the playoffs and the Minnesota Vikings would have to watch the playoffs from their couches. Now the Packers did their job in week 17, winning their game against the Broncos by almost 30 points. That left the Minnesota Vikings. All they had to do was escape with a victory and they would go into the playoffs. Up 17-6 with 2 minutes to go, the playoff chances were looking pretty good for all the Viking fans around the world. But as every second ticked off the clock, the chances got slimmer, and slimmer, to the point where we had to hold our breath as the seconds ticked down to 0. I sat down with Paul Allen as we rewatch the last play of the Minnesota Vikings 2003 season.
Obviously, we got 2003. You just mentioned it. Obviously, it's going to break your heart, maybe. We'll talk about it after. Let's just let it run.
Look how tired they are, the Vikings.
Get back, here it is. The season's on the line. 2 receivers left and right. McCown takes the snap. He steps up. He's all by himself. Fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No! The Cardinals have knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs.
But, I mean, I don't think you can be any more real with the moment. You know who tackled Nathan Poole and brought him down? Rookie Anquan Bolden. That's how old that game is. Bolden was, I don't know if he was Rookie of the Year, man, but he set a National Football League record that year that Justin Jefferson just broke. That was a Sunday in Tempe, Arizona at a college stadium, Sun Devil Stadium. It was cold, man. I remember the night before when we stayed in Scottsdale with the team, and man, it was like in the high 40s, low 50s. I was cold. It was a cold day and a dingy stadium, and we had everything for which to play, and they had nothing. And it was Emmitt Smith's final game. What a weird game and what a weird ending.
We start 6-0 that year too, and then we go 3-6 the next 9 weeks. Like, what are we doing?
That team, I mean, the 03 team, that team was mood swing central. They started out 6-0, then we're losing to Rick Meyer, quarterback of the Oakland Raiders. Leading up to the game, head coach Mike Tice went public and guaranteed the Vikings would win that game, and they didn't. Before that, they lose to Doug Flutie and the San Diego Chargers. In a game, Antonio Gates catches the first touchdown of his career. We go to Chicago. Can't remember the quarterback. Might have been Chad Hutchinson. We lose to them in a game where if the Vikings win with 3 to go, they clinch a playoff spot. Front right of the end zone near the end of the game. Culpepper hits Moss. Randy's bringing it in. And then this talented, tenacious rookie from Louisiana Lafayette by the name of Charles Peanut Tillman. He rips the ball away from Randy, and we lose the game. Kill, I believe, Kansas City the next week at Metrodome. I think we might have run up 50. So then that's it. Now all we got to do is win, beat Arizona, man, and we're in. We win the division. But if we lose, Green Bay wins the division. So Green Bay's killing Denver at the same time. We're in that meat grinder, and the game's at Lambeau. So Green Bay can't lose with about 10 minutes to go. They put our game on their big screen. And so now you got the Packer fans rooting for the Arizona Cardinals while they're watching a Packers-Broncos game. It's surreal. I mean, just surreal.
Especially since the Cardinals were 3-12, you would have thought, okay, this season's been up and down, but we're going to be okay. We'll get into the playoffs. We'll spite the Packers. I think that makes it even worse, that we let the Packers win the division because of that debacle.
One thing, one of many things that it definitely proves is no matter if you're 3-12 or 12-3, if you give these God-gifted, skilled, high-end athletes reason to believe, you can lose. That's why, cliche as it is, when these coaches are like, we got to score first, We got to bury him early. No, they know what they're talking about.
My thanks to Paul Allen, and I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to go right back into that play, because when you watch that back, you see Nathan Poole go up for the ball, and when he comes down, he only gets 1 foot down before being pushed out of bounds. Now in today's NFL, that's an incomplete pass, 1 foot in. That game's over. Minnesota Vikings, you win. Green Bay Packers, sorry, you're out of the playoffs. But back in 2003, they had a rule called the force-out rule, where the NFL referee got to make the determination that if the receiver was not pushed out, if he would have gotten his second foot down, that's a catch. If not, it's incomplete. How is there a rule where you make a determination if he would have got his second foot down? I'm going to guess he probably would have. I'm going to call it a catch. How is that a rule at any point? They finally got rid of that rule in 2008, but why was that even a rule in the first place? If that rule is not there, the Vikings are moving on to the playoffs, and with the best offense in the NFL that year, they were ranked number 1. Who knows what they could have done? But they had that rule in place. Minnesota Vikings lost, and I didn't even understand that was a key component of that loss until I watched it back. He only got 1 foot down before being pushed out. But anyways, the Vikings shouldn't even been in that position to begin with. They started the season off 6-0. They were the first 6-0 team to not make the playoffs since the 1978 Redskins, who finished the season 8-8. You start 6-0, you really just got to go 4-6 the rest of the way, and they couldn't even do that. They went 3-7 or whatever. So they shouldn't have even been in that position in the first place. But even in the Arizona game, sure, they fell behind down 6-0 at halftime, but then they came out in the second half guns a-blazing. They were up 17-6 with 6 minutes to go, 5-4, and up until the 2-minute warning. They were up 17-6 the 2-minute warning. Then they give up the touchdown. They stop the 2-point conversion. Okay, get the onside kick attempt. You're going to win the game. You're going to the playoffs. Still not worried. If you're a Viking fan, you're still not worried. You're going to be just fine. The Arizona Cardinals. In the 2003 NFL season, onside kicked recovery percentage was 19%. Well, a part of that stat is the Arizona Cardinals recovering the Week 17 onside kick against the Minnesota Vikings, because they recovered the onside kick and then they went down the field. But don't worry, we still had a chance. We were still looking pretty good as the time was ticking down to 0. Second and long, they get a sack, bringing it to 3rd and 14. 3rd and long, they get another sack, and he fumbles the ball too, and then they recover. It's okay, 4th and 14. Clock is ticking. Josh McCown, he's flustered. They don't know what they're doing. They're kind of just saying, everybody go to the end zone. I'm going to chuck a ball. We're going to see what happens. More often than not, ball's going to fall incomplete, and the team on defense is going to win the football game. But not in that instance. We're talking about the Minnesota Vikings, I remind you. So Josh McCown drops back, rolls out, throws a dart. Receiver catches the ball with 1 foot. I'm going to remind you, NFL today, that's an incomplete pass, but back then, that's a catch, and the Minnesota Vikings lose. And it's just another one of many occurrences in Minnesota Vikings history where a bizarre sequence of events occur to put the Vikings in the absolute worst position of all time. I mean, we got the Super Bowls, we got the 1998 Gary Anderson kick, and now we got this one so far up in this series. Up 17-6 with that much time left. It's absurd how they lost, but they did. And as I said before, not surprised. Knowing what's going to happen in the next 18 years following that, it's only right that would have happened in 2003. And it's not the first time a rule change from today would have affected a game in Vikings past. Obviously, this 2003 one. And the next episode, which I will preview now, the 2009 NFC Championship game, when in overtime, they only allowed first person to score wins the game. Now, if you only get a field goal on your first drive, the other team gets the opportunity to possess the ball, unless you score a touchdown. But anyways, that is what's on tap next. I appreciate your viewing of this episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.